Hi, everybody. We said that for us to understand life, for us to try to put words to the world around us, we can categorize. We can place all life, um, all areas where things are living into different groups. We talked about biomes. We said how we can separate life into different categories, like a community in a given area, a population of a species. When we are trying to study a species, first we need to understand what that species is. Things don't pop out of the ground with a name tag. Classifying life is our human way of trying to understand the world around us. So taxonomists and taxonomy itself is the science of naming and grouping organisms. If we put a name to something, we know that nothing else is like that. And so when we're describing it, when we're studying it, when we're trying to understand how it interacts with its environment and other living things, we don't get it confused with something else, right? But like I said, things don't pop out of the ground with a name tag. And so this is just our human hypothesis. And so sometimes taxonomy changes, right? And so we're just going to look at the basics of taxonomy. We talked a little bit in class about how you can separate life into this hierarchy. We can categorize life from a broad aspect to a very narrow, specific aspect. And so our systems of taxonomy is broken up into these 8 categories. And so we have our domains, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. You can use this mnemonic device to help you understand. Dead kings play chess on fat gorillas' stomachs. If you just look at the first letter of each of those words, it may help you memorize the order of this categorization. And so let's start with the broadest way to classify life. We can separate life into these domains. And so life can be separated by the types of cells they are. And so we are in domain Eukarya. We have organelles inside of our cells, membrane-bound organelles. The 2 other domains are bacteria and archaea. Bacteria are single-celled prokaryotes. They do not have a nucleus. They do not have membrane organelles. Archaeans are prokaryotes as well. For this class, we're going to learn them as organisms that exist in extreme environments. So things we call halophiles or thermophiles, salt-loving or heat-loving. Everything else that you can probably think of is in Eukarya. That includes all the plants, all the animals, fungus, and yeasts. We could look at kingdoms of bacteria and archaea, but in this class, we just focus on Eukarya. So the eukaryotes. Within the eukaryotes, for our purposes, this is being changed and updated, but for our purposes, we're going to use the 4-kingdom classification system. Plants being in plantae, or metaphyta for the botanists, fern, grasses, mosses, trees. Things like sponges, insects, us, birds, animals are in kingdom Animalia. We have kingdom fungi and kingdom Protista, like those small little protists we looked at in class, the stentor and euglena and algae, or I'm sorry, not algae, but amoeba. For the other categories, you do not have to know examples, you just have to know order. So you need to know examples for domain and kingdom, but for the others, I'm just giving you examples to help you understand them. So in phyla, or plural phyla, a phylum, these organisms have shared features. You can obviously tell that they're grouped together, even though they may have extreme differences. For example, we're in phylum Chordata, which is a spinal cord. All the flowering plants are in Magnolia phyta. Getting more specific, we have the class. These share many separations. So things like all of your insects are in class Insecta, all your reptiles in class Reptilia. Within class, we can break it up into orders. These organisms, you will, especially the larger ones like insects or plants, you can notice shared features. And so within your Reptilia, You can have the order Chelicerata, all your tortoises or turtles. Within the class Insecta, you could have Coleoptera, the beetles, Lepidoptera, the butterflies, Hymenoptera, your wasps, bees, and ants. We can see the group here. We can see the distinct features. But obviously, there are still some differences. We can get more specific. Within orders, we have families. These have many shared features, recognizable traits. If you study wildlife biology, you'll focus on this family. So for example, the weevil family. Amongst all the beetles, weevils are in their own family, Cuculionidae. They have that long, extended rostrum, that snout, that hard outer shell. They're usually very small. They exhibit extreme plasticity in features depending on where you are across the globe, but they have that long rostrum. Within a family, we have genus or genera. They're very closely related. They can look similar. They don't have to, but they can look similar. So for example, all the cats you can think of, lions, tigers, house cats, are all in the ocelots, are all in the genus Felis. All of the canines that you can think right now, all the dogs are in the Canis family. I'm sorry, genus. So if you're in a genera, you will look similar. So look at all of these four-legged, horse-like organisms. They're all in that same genus. But within that genus, within a genus, we can still separate by species. Now, species is unique. It separates that organism from any other. But remember, things don't pop out of the ground with a name tag. It's our system of naming. Now, remember that we use the two naming system, binomial nomenclature. We use both the genus and species name when identifying something. So Homo sapiens. Homo being the genus, sapiens being the species. It's like using my first and last name to describe me. And so we don't just use the species name, we don't just use the genus name if there is a species name known, because this is a hypothesis. This is a scientific, someone has published this information. It is a scientific idea. They don't have a name tag. And so we could find that this naming system, these species, either may not be named yet, or those names can change. A species like this beetle down here, Lucanus cervus, that's the genus and species name. If you see something written with SP at the end, that means it hasn't been named yet, or we don't know the name, but we do know the genus. Sometimes once you've written the genus name, you can just abbreviate, and there are other rules, but I need you not necessarily to know all of the, don't need to recall an example for every one of these classifications, but you do need to know the order that they are in, from broadest to most specific. So domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, and you need to understand the 3 different domains and the 4 different kingdoms within our eukaryotic domain. So use these slides to help you practice. See if you can understand it. See if you can write it down as an example. You can use your book or Wikipedia to help you, but see if you can write down the classification for humans from domain all the way down to species. And let me know if there are any questions.